I'm Stuart Cameron. Welcome to Friday's Look at Rugby. In the show today, part 2 of my exclusive chat with Gregor and Lewis Young on why they quit Scotland's 7 squad to return to Jedforest. But a look back at last weekend saw Scotland losing to Italy, their 5th consecutive home loss in the Six Nations. That means they chalked up an unwanted record. It's the first time they've lost 5 home games in a row in the Championship since 1952. Locally, much better news. Selkirk destroyed Aberdeen Grammar 42-13 to win promotion to the Premiership and become National 1 champions with a 19th straight win in the league. St Boswell's beat Hawick Harlequins to win the Borders Shield, and Jed Thistle lifted the Scottish Youth Under-18 Cup, beating Highland, with Melrose Wasps comfortably defeating Musselburgh Colts to take the bowl. And so to tomorrow, it's Cup Day with Hawick at home to Heriot at Mansfield Park in the semi-final clash. I caught up with player-coach Nikki Walker yesterday for a quick chat. It's been a tremendous season. First year in charge of Hawick. You've got them to the semi-finals and potential playoffs as well. Better than you'd imagine.
Yeah, I'd say we're a fair bit further forward than what we expected, but the guys have reacted really well to the coaching team that we've put together here at Hawick, and they've worked their socks off all season, and they're getting some rewards for it now, and there'll be nothing better for them than getting to Murrayfield if we can get the victory on Saturday.
And of course it's Heriots that stand in the way, table toppers of course, struggled against Hawick Fife though surprisingly, but it's one of the great fixtures, isn't it, Hawick against Heriots? Yeah,
it'll be a good competitive fixture. We've had 2 tough games against them this season, and Heriots are the only side in the league that's actually managed to beat us twice this season, so we know we're up against it this weekend, and with Heriots being the top of the league team, it's going to be a tough fixture. But on both of those occasions this season we've played them, we've felt disappointed not to come away with any points and with a win, so we're due them one, to be honest, and hopefully we can get a good performance here at home at Mansfield and get a win for the supporters.
And the season before, of course, you actually did the double. You were the only team, I think, to do the double over them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've done double over us this season. Maybe that's been their motivation, but it's a different competition. It's the cup, and the cup can pull out different results, and hopefully that's what will happen this weekend.
You've got some tremendous memories of being at Murrayfield, of course, with Scotland, and also with Hawick in the cup final. I remember sitting in the stand when you got that last-minute try against Glasgow Hawks, I think, wasn't it?
2002, a long time ago, and that was the last time Hawick were at Murrayfield in the cup final. So, it's been a long time coming, for the Hawick to be back in contention to get there, and it's going to be a massive game for us on Saturday, and everybody, there's a buzz around the town about this game and a buzz within the boys as well. So, everybody's looking forward to it, and we'd just be good to put in a good performance.
And probably a tight game as well, which means it's going to be absolutely imperative that discipline is sorted out.
Yeah, I think it will be a tight game, and discipline has been a bit of an issue with the Hawick team, of late, and it's something we've definitely starting to eradicate out our game, and it's starting to work, and we have ground out some good results here lately. Been tight games, but we've managed to come out at the right end of them, and hopefully that's what we can do this weekend.
Nikki Walker. Hawick versus Heriots kicks off at 3 o'clock tomorrow, and that will be our commentary game on Radio Borders with Stuart McFarlane and Dale Clancy, with the winners against either Glasgow Hawks or Boroughmuir. While in the semi-final of the Shield at 2:30 tomorrow, St Boswell's host North Berwick, with the prize a trip to Murrayfield to take on either Orkney or GHK. Our best wishes to both of them. 2 local derbies tomorrow in the National League 1. Selkirk going for 20 out of 20 against Peebles, and after the game they'll get their hands finally on the Championship trophy. Also tomorrow it's Jedforest against Kelso in a vital National League 1 game, which doubles as a Booker Border League match. A win for either side should give them safety from relegation issues. In National League 3, Hawick YM are at home to Preston Lodge, while there's nothing in the East League for local teams. Finally today, part 2 of my frank chat with the young twins of Jedforest, Gregor and Lewis. I spoke to them about their decision to quit their contracts with Scotland's Sevens. Last week we heard why they did it, the main reason being the lack of game time, as they spent more time on the bench than on the pitch. We do remember some great footage from all over the world, literally, particularly your try at Twickenham. But you really seemed as if you were both lapping it up.
At that point, we felt as if we were given a chance. We were in London, and I started 90% of the matches down there. We were scoring tries, we were getting interviewed by Sky Sports. We woke up on the Sunday and
messages of people
from all over the world.
Yeah.
We were in newspapers in New Zealand, Australia, and it was just, that's when we really thought, right, here we go, our career is going to kick off.
And then it was like the gap between London to some of the European Championship tournaments was possibly where it just took another step back. It was like the coach had just forgot about what happened in London and just completely decided to just start not selecting us again. So that was another big factor. That although we had such a great tournament in London, we would have loved to have repeated that in like this coming season, but we knew after Australia that wasn't going to happen, and we weren't prepared to have another season on the sidelines, and then come the end of the season getting a little chance here in the last tournament to do something. Yeah. So unfortunately that's what's happened, but we just have to get on with it.
What would you like to do if you were waving a magic wand now? What would you like to be doing next year?
Yeah, well, the agreement with Jed at the moment is to the end of the season, and because they are so supportive of us, that they were kind of hoping that we would move on as well. So they've bought into that too, and we can go out. We play our rugby for Jed. We hopefully have a great season, a great 7th season with them, and then fingers crossed at the very end we'll have something else to go to in the summer. I mean, we've got lots and lots of contacts just been through the rugby that we've played professionally for the last 3 years, and so that will help us out. But if we were to chuck that magic wand down, it would be maybe heading in the Six Nations right now, heading into another professional contract and being able to play for Scotland would be good.
We all know, obviously, the history of, the IRB is now obviously World Rugby. It was originally going to be possibly at Melrose. It wasn't. It then went to Murrayfield. It then went to Scotstoun. Now it's been lost completely for the next 5 years after the next Scotstoun, which, for a lot of people, particularly in the borders, that's an extremely disappointing thing to happen. It's obviously disappointing for Scottish rugby. You've played in the tournaments against these world-class players, and I know I've spoken to many of them as well, and when you talk to them about playing rugby sevens in Scotland, they don't talk about Scotstoun, they talk about the Greenyards. Is that what you were guessing on the circuit?
For me, I think it's a typical Scottish rugby thing is to overlook the borders. Like you say, Melrose Sevens is it's a great venue, and you hear the commentators on the World Series talking about Melrose all the time, and it just makes you wonder why was it never hosted at that venue.
It's somewhere that the borders would really buy into if the IRB World Series was on at the Greenyards, and it would be fully supported. Probably one of the best tournaments on the circuit.
Especially if you were a Scottish player as well. Yeah. To run out on the Greenyards in the World Series would just be would top it, but unfortunately they seem to overlook the borders, and it's just what happens now.
As soon as it was moved to Scotstoun, it was, we were getting player appearances in Glasgow, but
no one was turning up.
No schools would really buy into it because it's rugby, and rugby in that side of town's not. It's all about football. It's all about Rangers and Celtic, and it was just. I think that it was one of the biggest losses to rugby sevens it could ever have. Or the decision that they made to move it from Edinburgh to Glasgow.
Definitely not helped themselves with that one.
I mean, they did do a feasibility study some years ago now. So everything was kind of in place. All the hurdles that were there had been got round. Even the World Trophy is called the Melrose Cup.
Even when they're on about the infrastructure and whatever, when we were away, to travel to your training venues when you're in other countries, it's like half an hour, 40 minutes on the bus. So if it was based in Melrose, you're talking half an hour at the most to get to Riverside or Mansfield for the countries to train in. So
there's nothing different about being in the World Series to having it at Melrose. The teams could easily have been put up in the same hotels they stayed in when it was at Murrayfield. Use the training venues in and around Edinburgh, and game day would be at the Greenyards. It seems so simple.
Capacity as well, 15,000 had been, all they needed to do was build onto it on the far end. They were going to close the road as well and make it a stadium. And the atmosphere, you know, when you look at, I mean, you've played at Scotstoun, you've played at Murrayfield, and obviously you've played at the Melrose Sevens. What order would you put them in?
Melrose it's hard to top there. The crowd gets behind every single team there. And it's great being an underdog in that sort of event because you have the professional teams or the guest sides that come from different countries, and like the crowd at Melrose Sevens is unbelievable. There's such a buzz, but you get a similar buzz at the Green Yards when you're pulling on a club jersey. Like it really is. It should really have been the home of World Rugby Sevens, really.
And Scotland Sevens as a unit, it's come under a lot of criticism, obviously, over the years. And we're all kind of disappointed when we see kind of results. I mean, I remember going to Hong Kong and seeing China beat Scotland, and I've seen a lot of smaller nations beat Scotland. And, you know, people look at even the Euro tournaments that you were involved in with Belgium's and Germany's all taking the scalp of Scotland. People should think, well, you know, we should be hammering these teams. But it is very different. And we keep hearing from the likes of Stevie Gemmell saying to us that, well, you know, there are no easy games these days. What's your own take on that?
It's an easy way out for Stevie Gemmell to say something like that, because no matter what sport you're in, you will bond with a team and you play with that team, you fight for each other. So me and Gregor went to Gala, we walked straight into the change rooms. They boys bought into us, we bought into them, we were teammates. We went to the Sevens, and you have a squad that was selected, so there were 16 professional Sevens players in that squad. We were a team, we bonded well, we could play for each other. But it came to the point where we would be 2 days out of travelling or a week out of travelling, and we'd bring in 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 players from Edinburgh and Glasgow that have never played Sevens in their life, and they were coming in and just
taking over, basically.
Yeah, and it was creating a bit of a
hostile atmosphere,
just
because
there was a bit of an atmosphere there.
We had our game plans and they weren't buying into it. But for me, I think you can't write any side off in a game of Sevens, because like anything can happen. But with teams like Belgium, Germany, Georgia, like those teams, we do have to be putting away. But I think it's just because we're expected to win that. Like Scotland Sevens would just walk out there maybe too cocky and just thinking that it was going to happen when it wasn't.
It didn't help when you come to game day and you're still teaching guys how to play Sevens. Yeah, you're a professional rugby player, but that doesn't give you the knowledge to play a game of Sevens. And you could send some of the guys down here to play in the border circuit, and they will get found out. They weren't built for Sevens, and that's what really got to me and Gregor, because we knew the game. We played the game from when we were at school in Sevens tournaments, and it just seemed a bit silly why we weren't there to show what we can do on a Sevens pitch.
So it was a big decision. It was, but absolutely no regrets, as you say, to turn your back effectively on Scotland Sevens.
Everybody that plays rugby would want to pull on the international jersey, whether it was the full 15s or the Sevens, and I think we just really looked at what our priorities were, and we had done it for 3 years, weren't getting anywhere, and if you're losing interest in the game you love, then there's something wrong, something seriously wrong, and that's when it really hit us, and we were like, we have to get out here and get back to loving the game, and instead of just sitting on the sideline and completely losing interest in it. So.
Gregor and Lewis Young, my thanks to them for the interview. And that's it for your rugby tonight.